All right, listen, we are live and we are at BCMC, day number 2. This is our first product spotlight, and I am sitting with Jason Boss here. So we're super excited to get into this show. But first, we want to welcome everybody to the trade show floor. We are going to be going live this afternoon, I believe at 3 o'clock. We're going to walk around. We're going to show you what's happening here. There is a lot of people. There's a lot of people here, right? There's a lot of people here. So we are on location at the Building Components Manufacturing Conference, right? This is an annual event hosted by the SBCA, and we're in Columbus, Ohio today. So thank you for joining us. BCMC is a trusted venue for structural building component manufacturers to learn about the latest ideas, products, trends throughout the entire supply chain. The education, the networking, the one and only Emmett Smith, man, he was great too.
He was awesome.
He was awesome. You wouldn't believe it, but he's in the business of home building.
Yeah.
If you're not here, you should be, but that's why we're here to bring this conversation to you, watching from around the world. And today I am joined by none other, Jason Boss, modular and traditional construction professional, talking about what will it take to advance industrialized construction. Some of the conversations we are overhearing while we are here is how do we measure the most meaningful construction metrics like quality, safety, time, cost to build, and cost to operate? How will the right technology transform your business, the digital twins, to robotics and automation? Building your team, building your tech stack, how to cut through the noise and avoid the automation walk of shame.
Yeah.
Taking the right steps to advance centuries-old industry. But first, we got to do a big shout out to our sponsors for helping us advance construction and to build it better. So a big hello to Ben Hershey, Forward Solutions Group, who is here, Owen Eldridge, and the team, the entire team, not all of them, but most of them are here, from Forward Solutions Group, who are successfully driving companies to succeed where others have failed. Come visit them. If you're watching the show, they're in booth 113 here at BCMC. And if you're not here, contact Ben Hershey at forwardsolutionsgroup.com. Ben at forwardsolutionsgroup.com. And also another shout out to Howick Ltd. We just came back from a tour with them in London. It was amazing. They have a long history of innovation as well in cold form steel manufacturing, and they produce innovative precision roll forming technology for customers throughout the United States and the world. Check out their Machines Buyer's Guide for offsite modular construction or fast build construction with light steel for framing. And check out our series on Steel Horizons that just took place a month ago. Powered by Howick, we asked leading steel frame construction experts and building technologists, what does the future of construction look like? So let's dive into it with Jason. Jason, man,
welcome, Dave.
We've talked several times on the phone. Jason, why don't you just, because we're going to get into some opinions. It's going to be a fun conversation.
I always have opinions.
He has opinions, and he doesn't hold back either. And that's what we need. And that's what we love about this show is we have that unedited, unbiased approach. We're going to listen to everybody to see how we can drive this industry forward. Jason, tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what your background is.
I was offsite construction before offsite construction was a buzzword. I started on a shop floor. I've worked in every segment of the business from engineering, design, fabrication, operations, and absolutely love this industry. It is the way we have to build if we're going to produce buildings that are available for people and are affordable. If we don't make changes, we're not going to progress.
Well, that's right. We're not going to progress. I mean, we're the only industry that hasn't progressed. I mean, We've made little incremental gains in better windows, better doors, things of that nature, but we haven't made the gains we need to go up against affordable housing, to combat the 7 million homes that we're short or whatever that number is. What are we going to do to change it?
Well, I think we have to recognize we are an awesome industry.
Yeah.
There is just a numerous number of people who are brilliant, who are working on all those challenges, but we're slow learners. We've been slow to really make the really, really big leaps and bounds. I think one of the key things we have to do is we have to think about how we get from the physical world to the digital world. You have to make that jump before you can automate. And that's going to be the backbone of any automation system.
Yeah, the physical world to the digital world. It's funny, we just did an interview with Margaret Whelan from Whelan Advisories right before this show, and she was saying the same exact thing, and she plays at a very high level. But we need to build it twice. We need to build it twice, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So what are the tools that you're seeing that's going to help us do this?
Software-wise, you've got to take obviously you've got to take a big look at companies like Autodesk, and then there's other lesser known companies, Dietrich's, ArchiCAD, SEMA, some of these other ones that maybe aren't viewed as much mainstream, but have absolutely brilliant tools that can help you bring the digital twin into the building industry and do it effectively.
So why are we not seeing more people start using this technology? It's available. Is it price? Is it lack of knowledge? Is it just the unwillingness to change? Why are not more people not adopting this?
I think the key problem right now is resources in the market. It's really hard to find good people that know the software. And all of these companies are working hard to build the knowledge base, but it does take time. And so time is going to be a factor for all of us as we continue on this journey.
So who's out there that is doing it better in your mind? Like where are you seeing the innovation come from? You know, from the vendors, software providers, and so forth.
Innovation from the software side, I think Dietrich's is one of the best companies. They are really working to build their brand and to infuse technology that makes sense for a shop floor to operate. Vendors from machines, there's a lot of machine vendors out there that are working nights and weekends. Being a representative of Styles Machinery, I can't understate how fantastic the team at Weinman is. They know the industry. That's the only industry they've been in is construction, and they really work hard to continuously adapt. Operators, there's a lot of really good operators that are actually fueling the fire and making everybody work harder and better. Basic panel systems, folks like ICG, they would definitely be top of the stack for panel systems. Polygons, as it has been termed, is a Blueprint Robotics case study that is absolutely wonderful. You can learn a lot from them. And then of course volumetric modular construction, you've got to take a look at some of the guys that are really pivoting hard, like BBC.
And they are pivoting hard. But what are we getting wrong in offsite?
I think one of the big things we get wrong is we don't collaborate well, right? It's one thing to have a lot of these companies doing things great individually, but are we taking that knowledge and pouring it back into the bucket and saying, hey, what did you learn? What did I learn? I think we look at it as competition. And because we look at it as competition all the time, we don't always have a benefit of having a universal knowledge pool.
You know what? But is it competition when you're only 4% of the market?
It's not. There is plenty of room for everybody. I routinely tell customers not to worry about if somebody puts a panel factory in their backyard, because right now you can put 100 factories in the United States and they would all be running at full tilt and we'd still be barely scratching the surface of construction.
And we need thousands of factories to meet the demand that's out there, you know, from the numbers that we're hearing. But I mean, that's kind of what our show's all about too, right? Is collaboration. How do we get people to talk with each other? You know, we're all out there trying to do it. We all say we have our, you know, special IP, intellectual property, but yet we're not really making a dent yet in the industry as a whole as far as growing market share. It's growing, it's coming, but what is your thoughts? Are we getting there? Are we going to start moving and seeing more of it?
I think we are. I think we are getting there. I think that there are a number of companies that are seeing the value of expanding and creating a footprint that has a bigger geographical impact and understanding what those things look like. I think the investment world is starting to take notice, and they understand that, hey, there's not only a play here for a company to put their dollars in and have their dollars grow, but it's also a way for developers and builders at scale to augment their businesses and make their businesses a larger value proposition.
Who's getting it right in the offsite space? Who do you think's getting it right?
Folks that are getting it right. To be honest, I think that it's hard to get it wrong right now. That's a good point, I think it really is hard to get it wrong. I think if you are pulling work into a factory where you have a controlled environment, where you can really put out good quality at volume, you're doing it right. And I think a lot of folks need to realize that those are big wins. Even if you're a small shop or if you're a mega size shop, those are really big wins because that's laying the foundation for future growth.
It really is. So listen, if you're just joining us, make sure you hit that like and share. Hanging out with Jason Boss. We are at BCMC in Columbus, Ohio, and there is a ton of people here, to include Emmett Smith. Amazing conversation we had with Emmett Smith. All right, Jason. So we talked about, you know, what's the next, you know, what do you think the next big thing of innovation is going to be in our industry?
I think it has to be material handling in the shops. The elements and the materials are very diverse.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them in a factory, and the size of the elements are difficult to deal with. So I think as we look at the evolution that has happened, it started off with CNC saws. And then we transitioned and we started to see things like framing machines and bridges.
Right.
And now the challenge is the gaps between all of those big work centers, right?
Yeah.
Moving the material in a streamlined way. You can tell inefficiency in a production environment by the number of carts you see on the shop floor. The more carts you see, the more inefficiency there is.
Yeah.
Because now you have people that, it's laborious to tug a cart full of 300 pounds, 400 pounds worth of lumber around. And there's
100,000 or 200,000 square feet. Right.
Yes, you're. Can you imagine being the guy that's walking miles a day pushing a 400-pound cart? Nobody wants that job.
Yeah, me either.
And there's inefficiency in it, right? How do you get the right cart to the right place at the right time? Those areas are ripe for innovation.
Right, for sure. So, I mean, Jason, you know so much about. Tell us about what you do on a day-to-day. Like, where's your passion lie in this business?
Oh,
I'm just curious.
I love every part of it. I love helping people come to a realization of solutions that will work for their production environments. It's not only a passion, but it's a joy to work with somebody and see the light kick on in their eyes and have them realize, hey, I can do this way better.
Yeah.
Or I can make the work easier on my people. One thing I think is really, really cool to see is when you walk into a factory and you see a little 5 foot tall, 110-pound lady that's lifting wall panels with a lifting device or some other apparatus. She's doing a job that used to be localized to the 6'6" gorilla man.
Right.
And now we're leveling the playing field. We're making the work more accessible, and we're getting better results from it.
So what if I said I had a conversation where it's not a labor problem that we're having, it's not a housing shortage problem, it's a waste problem. When we think about construction and what owns 95% of the market, does the waste in your mind play into the problem that's happening now when 30% of everything we're doing is in the dumpster?
Absolutely, it's a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, think about what we just went through. We just went through a pandemic, but the second pandemic we went through was a pandemic of not being able to get lumber, of all things. And so then you see how much waste we put in the trash can. You have to ask yourself the question, how do we fix that, right?
Well, and that's it, right? How do we fix that?
Absolutely. So I think that's where smart manufacturing comes in, right? This is where we can absolutely learn from consumer electronics, from automotive, and how they have tuned their material usage. And it starts with your digital twin. If you plan the material usage properly, and then you have a way to utilize scrap and waste, you can make a big dent in that. It is not unheard of for factories to be down in the sub 2% of lumber waste, but you can only do that if your product offering and your manufacturing process are aligned to be streamlined.
And that's one of the great things about where we're at today at BCMC, because all of these companies, software, machinery, they're here right now, showcasing and displaying. So there are solutions out there, and some of them are in the smaller booths, not always in the big booths, right? Like Zima and some of the other ones that you mentioned that are out there. So by one simple step of doing a digital twin, Revit, BIM, whatever it's going to be, whatever the choice is, does that actually solve problems for people up front? I mean, where do they see that on their bottom line? Because you know that's what drives the industry. And I'm not sure that everybody knows how to quantify it.
Yeah, I think that if your digital twin is also a basis for your cost control model, then you can take that moment before you bring it into the real world, before you purchase the materials, and you can say, okay, let's streamline this. You know, did we put the simple things? Did we lay the studs in the walls out so they work best with optimized sheeting utilization? And maybe from time to time the objective is going to change. Maybe sheeting is up, and you really want to make sure you're conserving there. Maybe 2x4s are hard to get, and you really need to conserve there. But if you can't quantify it, you can't possibly make improvements. And so the digital twin gives you an opportunity to quantify everything to whatever degree you feel is important for your business model.
Who's the disruptors in this industry?
Oh, disruptors. You said the D word.
I did.
Okay, so
is there such a thing?
So here's my feeling on disruptors.
I know it's coming. I have to spark it somehow. I need it to come out.
Didn't think you were going to do this to me, Dave. So
disruption. I got a drink under the table.
Good, perfect. So disruptors, right? I think there's two kinds, right? There's kinds that run around doing jazz hands, telling everybody we're doing all this stuff, we're going to make all these things happen, making a big ruckus, and we don't see a lot, right? Real disruptors are the quiet guys.
Yeah,
they're the quiet kids sitting in the back of the class, just doing his schoolwork, cranking away, solving the problems. That's the guy that becomes the multi-millionaire in the world, right? That's the guy that makes a difference. And so I think we have to look at disruption not from the flash in the pan standpoint as much as who's putting buildings up, and who's putting buildings up better, stronger, faster than what was done a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and certainly 40 years ago, because we're still doing it the same way. So I think that's where disruption matters. And if you look at those kind of companies, smart disruptors. Let's make a new term, Dave. Smart disruptors. Okay.
Smart disruptors. SDs.
Yes. Smart disruptors are folks that are putting more content in their panels, and are putting more content in their volumetric modules and in their polygons, and really building that push towards the factory model. Those are smart disruptors, right? And I think those are the folks that we need to hear from. We need those case studies. We need them to say, hey, look at what we've done. Come see our system and experience it.
Well, and we're starting to see that, like you said, but they're not out there touting their own horn. They're building, but they're also building in a way where they're collecting their own data.
Right.
So they can constantly improve. Like, they know what outlets in their buildings get used the most, for instance. And then they can change and adjust to the consumer's needs. They know what the air is like in their building. So when we look at how we're building, right, is it just about speed, or is it also about the technology and a healthier, more sustainable building as well? Because we're thinking there's two different ways to build, right? On-site or off-site in manufacturing. Are you using a complete system, or are you using a kit of parts? Those are kind of like, where do you see that heading, and does it play a role, all this technology some companies are putting in their homes?
Yeah, there's a lot of folks still that are still building buildings inside of buildings.
Yep.
And that's not quite the spirit of offsite construction. So as you start to move to a systems approach for your offsite construction, then absolutely. Anything you can quantify, you can control, measure, and improve upon. And that does start with digital twin, but it doesn't end until you have completed that final cycle of installing the panels and completing it, and then moving that data of what went really well and what was a challenge back to the factory. And those things can drive conversations about waste, about human labor waste. I mean, we talk about waste like it's always materials. We don't talk about how much time we waste of an individual during the course of a day.
You know, I talk about this. You said I just had this conversation with a framer. I said, when you're framing, 200,000 square feet or 2 million square feet of building a year, how much time do you spend looking for the crown? Flipping it and looking for the crown, right? I don't know if anybody knows how to really quantify that and calculate that time saving and that man hours and labors that it takes just to flip your 2x4s, 2x6, 2x10s, looking for the crown to set it right.
Absolutely. Or how much time does it take to put a screw in? It seems silly. It seems like nonsense. It seems like something that many stick builders would say, nobody cares, right? But when you get to the point where those small actions are what you're focusing on, you've already covered so much ground and you've made so much progress that you have this great opportunity to now really look at these little tiny bits. And I think there are some folks that are starting to get that long view and setting their systems up to be able to track those things.
What brings you to BCMC?
What brings me to BCMC, same thing that brings me here every time I've attended. It's to be part of the industry education cycle, right? If we aren't learning, we're probably not growing. And this is a really great venue to learn and grow.
You have a saying, you're only as good as, right?
You're only as good as your software. I mean, that's the end. That's where every conversation when I've helped somebody automate a factory, the first thing we have to talk about is, what's your software look like?
Right.
And that piece really drives how good you're going to be able to manufacture.
Right.
And here at BCMC, you get that sense when you see the machines that are here and you talk to the vendors. It used to be there was one or two software solutions here. I think there's got to be at least 10, 12 here now.
Easily.
And so that's an area that everybody should explore. It's not just for engineers and architects anymore.
That's right.
It's for the entire building universe.
I mean, it is all the way from the software to the lasers that are laying out stuff on tables, especially in the components industry here. It simplifies it, but it also allows you to do more with less.
Correct.
We do have less people now. So how do you get the production up? How do you be more efficient? How do you get more product out the door?
Absolutely. And it's also important to remember that not everything is one size fits all.
Yeah.
There are solutions that will work for some businesses now, and in their future state, they will need a different solution, and that's okay. So I think as we look at that, we see a great potential for continued learning and growth, and that's one of the things I really appreciate about BCMC and the SBCA.
Yeah, for sure. They really put on a good educational program here, and there's a lot of time to spend with the vendors and the people that are here to showcase their wares and their products, which is great.
Absolutely.
So, industrialized construction moving forward. How are we advancing? What is the Jason Boss vision of what's going to happen over the next 5-10 years?
I think the machine vendors, let's start there. I think machine vendors are getting smarter.
Yeah.
I think they're starting to realize that there is really no one-stop shop right now.
Yeah.
And I think that as they start to examine the gaps in their product offerings, we're going to see some really innovative pieces of equipment come into market that are really going to make a difference.
Right.
That can be quantified in terms of labor reduction, in quality improvements, and material waste.
Yeah, for sure. Just a quick shout out to good old Buzz Finishing, moving modular forward on Green Home with Audrey coming up, it looks like. And we also have, Joel Hutchins.
I do.
Yeah, who doesn't know Joel Hutchins that's out there? If you're out there and you want to put a comment in, go right ahead. All right, so Europe. Do you see the Europeans making a push into this market successfully? Because there's been some failures.
There have been. Listen, I think we have to change our attitude about failures, right? There are big success stories and small success stories. There's been some big failures and some big and some small failures. I think as folks go through this process, we've got to embrace some of that failure. Let's drink it up. Let's pay our tuition, learn from it, and then move forward.
Right.
The European market, yes, I think that there are folks moving this direction because North America is such a big market, but it is also ripe for improvement. Mm-hmm. And so when you compare, I've spent a lot of time with my German friends from Weinmann.
The Sprechen bisschen Deutsch.
Yes, not me, but they.
That's all I got.
They've tried.
Beer, bitte. And Bo is the toiletta. I got all that down.
Yeah.
That's the important stuff.
But they really bring an interesting perspective because they don't traditionally build in light timber.
Right.
So most of the folks that build in light timber in places like Germany, they build in factories.
Yeah.
It's the natural way for them to do things. So they have this unique knowledge base that we can really learn a lot from, and they can really help us advance this prefab effort.
What would you like people to know that I haven't asked you about today?
Oh gosh.
Keep it clean, no cussing and swearing, Jason.
I'll do my best. I'll do my best. I think the thing that I would want people to know is that the industry is positively moving forward.
Yeah.
We are making progress every day. There are so many things that we couldn't possibly cover right now, and things that I'm not allowed to share.
Yeah.
But there are so many good things on the horizon. I think the next 24 months is going to be full of announcements and opportunities for people to say, wow, look at what's happening, and really learn and continue.
You can't share a little bit with us?
Not today.
Well, maybe we could be the first to share it with the world.
Maybe.
I love it. All right. Walk of shame. What is the walk of shame? Come on.
The automation walk of shame.
Is that the disruptor walk of shame?
It does somewhat tie back to disruptors, right? But you come to a place like BCMC, and there's a lot of machinery here that is super, super cool. And you look at it and you go, man, I got to have that. And I'll take 2 of those and 1 of those. And then you try and slam them into your environment. And all of a sudden, it's like somebody just poured cement over your whole gear system and you can't make any progress. That's the automation walk of shame. It's automating just to automate. It's automating without a full stack plan to effectively automate a workflow, right? Which means you have to know your product. You have to know how that product is going to flow from the digital world all the way through its life cycle until you're done. You've dusted your hands off. You've handed the keys over to the owner, right? That's the automation walk of shame. And unfortunately, sometimes we look at some of the, quote, failures as being a failure in the machines and software.
Right.
But in reality, the failures are normally business models that fail and not necessarily the machines and the software. It's how those things were applied.
Right,
So,
right. And having the right team and the right culture.
absolutely.
You know, a lot of these companies that I have seen travel in the world, culture plays a big part in their success.
It does really. I mean, if your investors and your leadership team really believe in offsite construction and that's what they're there to do, then that's a successful looking team. Yeah. If your investor is just looking to put money in and take it out in a few years and get a return, that might be a challenging sort of relationship. If your leadership team looks at it as a necessary evil to replace human beings, that's not going to be necessarily a successful relationship.
Yeah, very, very much so. So, you know, looking at the digital twin, looking at the culture, looking at the people, what would be the biggest piece of advice that if somebody said, hey, I want to do it better, where would you start with them? Would you say, what's your software? That's it?
I would say software, but more importantly, invest in your people. Get your people proper training, right? This industry is so full of tribal knowledge and what we learned OJT.
Right.
We sometimes underestimate the value of really taking our people and in making an investment in them, right? Yeah. And helping them be better, making sure that they have an environment and an education that is going to make them be successful, empower those people to be successful.
I love it. Well, there you have it, everybody. Jason Boss and all of his final words that are going out there right now. So if you are watching this, you want to leave some comments, leave the comments. We will get back to you online. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, you should subscribe to our YouTube channel. You're wrong. If you're not following Jason Boss on LinkedIn or where else are you at? Just
that's it.
You're wrong. You got to follow Jason. Obviously, you can tell he's smart. He's got a nice beard. Look at him. I mean, look at the guy. He's got the glasses. Jason, it's awesome to have you here with us.
Thank you for having me, Dave.
It's a lot of fun. All right, listen, everybody, we're going to be live again at 3 o'clock. We're going to be doing the Dave Cooper live walkthrough. We're going to be visiting some of the vendors that are here. We're going to be showcasing some of the products that are here, maybe some of the software that's going on out there. So you want to stay tuned for that. And then again, we're going to be live again tomorrow. We'll be live on the showroom floor, and we're going to have an industry roundtable with some other experts that are sitting here today, all live here from SBCA, BCMC. We're only on day 2. We got one more day tomorrow. Pretty cool stuff.
Awesome.
Can you hear the machines going off and the nail guns back there?
Pretty cool.
It just makes me giggle. I love it. All right, Jason, thanks so much. Everybody else out there, we will see you at 3 o'clock. Put it on your calendars. Do not miss it. We'll see you next time. Bye now.